A family is vacationing at a resort in Italy, relaxing by the pool. A man approaches them, asking if the chair beside Ben is available. Ben willingly gives it. The man drags the chair to the other side of the pool, where his wife and son are. The next day, Ben and his wife Louise go out for a meal. They are seated across from a Danish couple, from whom they are tired of hearing stories about cooking class. They see the other couple from earlier at the next table, looking at them, and seemingly laughing at the Danish man as well. One day they are about to go out and explore when their daughter unfortunately loses her plushie, named Hoppy. Their daughter Agnes has anxiety and cannot go anywhere without Hoppy. Louise tells Ben to find the plushie, but he is unsuccessful. He goes back to Louise and finds her getting acquainted with the couple earlier, named Patty and Ciara, with their son Ant, who cannot speak. They luckily find Hoppy and give it to Agnes. The couple invites them over for lunch and they seem to be amused by the two, so they agree. Over lunch, Patty asks what Ben does. He says he has just been let go due to redundancy, mentioning that the company gave him a good severance pay. Meanwhile, Louise is also unemployed after agreeing to move to London with Ben, leaving her PR career in the United States. Patty shares that he is a doctor. He also shares that his son cannot speak because he has a congenital condition, having a shorter tongue than normal. They seem to really enjoy each other's company, and they decide to have dinner together that night. Days after their vacation, back in London, they receive a postcard from the couple. They are inviting them over to their farm for a breather, saying Aunt misses Agnes. Louise notices that her husband is feeling down after not getting a job he just applied for, and agrees to go the following weekend. They drive to the farm and get welcomed by the couple. Ciara leads Agnes to Aunt's room where she will be sleeping. Aunt seems to be really anxious and doesn't welcome them. Patty and Ciara prepared dinner to welcome their family. Ciara shares that they butchered their priced goose and roasted it, especially for them. This is despite knowing that Louise is vegetarian, as she mentioned when they met in Italy. Patty even makes Louise take a bite, which she fakes. After dinner, Ben throws the trash outside and Aunt follows him. He keeps trying to make a sound as if saying something, but Ben doesn't understand. Then, Patty finds them and calls them back inside. The next day, they go out to pick some fruits and explore the forest. Agnes finds a wooden swing and tries to play, but Aunt is in her way. She calls her mom to help, but Aunt is still not moving. Patty follows and moves him forcefully, surprising Louise a bit. Patty notices that Louise is having problems with her neck and offers to massage it. Then, he brings them to go cliff diving nearby. Louise is very protective of her daughter, so she asks to make sure it's safe enough. Patty assures her, and they jump. Louise sees that Aunt cannot swim, but Ciara assures her that he is safe with Patty there. Back in the house, Louise's anxiety and displeasure around the couple have increased after seeing how they act. Louise even thinks of using her neck as an excuse so they can leave. Seconds later, Ciara knocks to invite them for dinner at a restaurant, leaving the kids with a nanny, whom Louise doesn't seem to fully trust. They arrive at the restaurant and enjoy their dinner. Meanwhile, at the house, the kids are playing hide-and-seek with the nanny when Aunt leads Agnes to his dad's room, showing her the collection of watches. She shows one which has the name Peter engraved on it. He keeps trying to say something, but Agnes doesn't understand him. Back at the restaurant, Patty recites a poem about how parents can mess up their children's lives, even unintentionally. He gets emotional and embraces his wife, saying Ciara saved him. She also shares that their romance hasn't faded from day one at all, saying they still make love daily. She also shares that they like doing role play, and that is also one of the reasons why they like dining out sometimes. Then, Ciara goes under the table, covered by the tablecloth, and she seems to be pleasuring Patty orally, right in front of their guests. This makes Bena and Louise start feeling uncomfortable, but then they reveal they are just messing around with them, laughing at their expressions. After dinner, when they are about to pay the bill, Ben politely offers to split it, but Patty acts as if he misheard him for offering to pay the full bill, and just walks out. Back in the house, Aunt shows Agnes the bruises on his torso, shocking Agnes. He really seems to be trying to tell Agnes something. They get interrupted when they hear that their parents have arrived. That night, Ben and Louise get into an argument about how Louise almost cheated on him by texting with another man. They make up in the end after expressing their feelings and hug each other. Unbeknownst to them, Patty is standing right outside the door, eavesdropping. That night, Louise wakes up at dawn and checks on Agnes, but both she and Aunt are not in the room. She sees Patty in Ciara's room and is shocked to find Agnes tucked beside Ciara. This is the last straw for her. She takes Agnes and wakes up Ben. She packs up, telling him they need to go. They get in the car without waking the family and drive away. However, Agnes notices that Hoppy is not in her bag. Ben tries to look for it, but it's nowhere. Agnes starts having a panic attack and scratches herself. She even kicks her dad's seat, distracting him and almost colliding with an oncoming truck. Seeing the situation, Ben decides to drive back to the house. They enter the house and get confronted by Patty and Ciara, who are now awake. They are really disappointed that they just left like that. Louise cannot hold back anymore and expresses that they crossed the line by bringing Agnes into their room to sleep. Kiara apologizes and explains that she lost a daughter, that's why she seemingly wanted to treat Agnes as hers. They feel sorry for her, and all seems to be forgiven. They decide to stay. Agnes and Ant are playing when Ant writes something on a piece of paper, showing it to Agnes. However, Agnes cannot read what's written as it's in a different language. Ciara sees him trying to talk and approaches. Seeing this, Ant eats the paper, worrying Agnes. When she gets time alone with her mom, Agnes tells her about what happened, saying it's not normal and that something's really wrong with Ant. Meanwhile, Ben and Patty are out in the forest to go hunting, but Ben doesn't have the heart to shoot a fox. Then Patty brings him to an open field where they both scream out all their frustrations. They are having a meal outside when Kiara starts telling Agnes to eat her vegetables. Louise sees this and seems weirded out. Then Kiara tells Agnes not to chew with her mouth open, as if she is her mother. Louise tells her off, saying it's the mother's job to tell her daughter what to do, not Kiara's. Patty talks to both of them, and they apologize to each other. Then, Ant and Agnes perform a dance for them, but Patty keeps stopping them, as he notices that Ant is not dancing as well as Agnes. After repeatedly telling off Ant, this sets Agnes off the mood, and goes back to the table. But Patty asks Ben to help make Agnes dance. And Ben, seeming like a pushover when it comes to Patty, convinces Agnes to go again. However, Patty is still unsatisfied with Ant's performance and lashes out. This angers Louise and Ben. The couple talk and decide they have to go. However, Kiara talks to Louise asking her to wait until Patty wakes up from his nap before leaving, for her and Ant's sake. It's as if she's implying that Patty might harm her and Ant if they go without saying goodbye. While Patty's sleeping, Ant steals his father's keys and gets Agnes to come with him to a barn with a secret basement. Ant shows him an album filled with photos of Patty and Ciara, with different sets of families. Agnes finally figures out that Ant's parents are not Patty and Ciara, and he has been abducted. Ant shows him the photo with his actual family, where he is sticking out his tongue. He is clearly implying that Patty and Ciara his tongue. Agnes figures out that the horrible couple is planning to do the same thing they did to all those other families in the photos. To her own family, she takes photos of the album. Agnes makes a way to get her parents alone and pretends she is having her first period. Louise brings her inside, and Agnes shows her the photos, telling her what she discovered. Louise is horrified to find them in this situation. She goes out again and tries to act normal when she calls Ben to help her. They make up a plan to leave. They tell the couple that Agnes will feel better if she's home. The couple agrees and shows them outside. However, Ben's car tire is flat and Patty sees this, so he offers to fix it. Then, Agnes sees Hoppy on the roof, and Ben gets it, but it's all torn. After he fixes the tire, Patty unexpectedly lets them go. However, as they are about to get out of the gate, Patty throws Ant into the swamp. Ben does not have the heart to leave Ant like that, knowing Patty and Ciara are horrible people. He goes to rescue Ant, and when they get out of the swamp, Patty and Ciara are already holding Louise and Agnes hostage, pointing a gun at them. They bring them back inside the house, where Patty makes Louise transfer all their money into his bank account. Then, Patty prepares to inject something into Agnes to sedate her. However, Louise stabs him with the cutter she got earlier. The sedative falls on the floor and Agnes picks it up. Then, Louise takes Kiara's gun and points it at them. They escape the room and lock the two inside. As they are about to drive away, Patty's accomplice arrives and shoots at them, forcing them to go back to the house. Louise tries to call emergency services, but Kiara cuts off the line. Ben is panicking and at a loss on what to do, but Louise makes him snap out of it. Ben sees the liquor in the house, and knowing that it has high alcohol content, he plans to throw it to the hut beside the house. He hopes that someone sees the fire and comes to rescue them. However, it ends up falling on Patty's car. They hide Agnes and Ant in the closet while they find a way to fight their enemies. Louise finds an acid, and Ben finds a hammer. A few seconds later, Patty is able to break in. Patty's accomplice breaks in from the roof, and Ben hides from him. Meanwhile, Kiara breaks in through the basement. Patty approaches the wardrobe and opens it, but doesn't find the kids there. Then, Louise comes out splashing acid on him while the kids run. Kiara goes to help his husband, who's in a lot of pain. Ben comes out of hiding and attacks Patty's accomplice, but he gets beaten up instead. Luckily, Louise finds them and stabs the enemy's head with the back of the hammer. They are now in the attic, and Ben sees there's a ladder they can use to go down. They go one by one. However, Kiara catches up to them with a gun. As she peers her head through the window, Louise hits her in the back of the head, causing her to fall, ending her life. However, the ladder falls too. Ben decides to jump down to get the ladder, injuring his feet. Agnes comes down first, and she goes through the yard to wait for the others. However, Patty catches her and takes her hostage. Louise begs him to not harm Agnes. Patty laughs, declaring that since they took away Ciara's life, he will take Agnes to replace her. Patty is about to shoot them, but Agnes stabs him with the sedative, causing him to fall. Ben picks up the gun and points it at Patty, but cannot pull the trigger. However, Ant picks up a brick and lets out all his anger by smashing Patty's face until he is unrecognizable. They are finally able to escape the situation and drive away. Ant seems to be in a state of shock and maybe relief. that he is finally free, tears welling up in his eyes while staring straight at the road as if he has been waiting for this moment all along.